Hi and welcome to another Backstage Pass. It is so fun backstage. We find out all kinds of things. And it's not backstage anywhere. It's backstage at the Boscov's Berks Jazz Fest. My name is Jo Painter. I want to thank the Berks Arts Council for making this series possible. Jazz Fest is coming up, and if you're watching this in August, you missed it, but you know what's cool? It's coming up again next year. It happens every year in late spring here in Berks County. How are you doing, Gerald?
I'm doing well, Jo.
You guys gonna mess that name up, didn't you?
No, I have total confidence in you. I'm glad to be here. It's always fun talking to you.
It's fun talking with you as well. Gerald Veasley is with us, and you are, I'm going to say, a perennial favorite. We often have you back here because you have been, over the years, not only a staple with Jazz Fest in terms of all of that you do performing, but with coordinating educational programs and boot camps and things like that, kind of behind the scenes or backstage. So I got to thinking about, I think I know everything about Gerald, but I don't. I'm certain that I don't. And I got curious about your journey, your music journey. You started playing when you were a kid, right?
Yep.
And at what point did you say, I'm going to do this for a profession?
So I started playing at the age of 12. My dad bought me a bass for Christmas, which was a miracle to me. I didn't know that we had money to buy basses and things like that. I would have asked for it a long time ago. And I played in the neighborhood, and it was great because I didn't necessarily grow up in a musical family, but a family that really loved music and loved dance, and any old day was an excuse to have a party in the house.
Nice.
So as soon as I got my bass, there were two things. Number one is I had to study, so I had to take lessons and learn to read music. That was a requirement. And then the other thing I realized is that when you have an instrument, you can start a band. So even at the
Did you do that?
Yeah. Found other kids in the neighborhood. We rehearsed in the basement. Then when it got too loud for my basement, we go to another basement. And I did that all through, middle school and high school, and then went to college and decided to get serious about my life and put the bass away.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I decided, when I say get serious, I never thought of it as a vocation. It's just something that I loved, And I was on a total different track. What
were you going to be?
Well, so I went to University of Pennsylvania. I got 2 scholarships. The first one was to be an engineer. Yes, that was money that was not spent very wisely at all by the university.
I can make a connection for you if you want me to, but no, I'll go with that. Go ahead.
And actually, I ended up in the political science department, studying political science and philosophy. That was I liked that. And in my 3rd year, my dad passed away unexpectedly, and it was really now I can look back now and see that I went through a sort of a depression.
Yeah.
I didn't think of it at the time as that, but it was kind of dark for me because I needed so much more time with my dad to learn to be a man, to learn all these things that you're supposed to know. And now I'm the one that has to make funeral arrangements and figure out things, and I'm a young person. So what I did was I sort of went into a shell and didn't communicate with anyone, but I went and got the bass out of the closet and started playing.
It was a connection to him. He gave it to you.
It must have been. I think that must have been what it was. But it made me, I guess I was processing it without knowing how. And it made me feel so much better that I realized that there's something special about music, what it does in a healing kind of way. And listening to music and playing it. And I thought, wow, the vocation of a musician is different than what I thought it was. It's actually serving on the other side. I thought, wouldn't it be cool to be somebody who makes that music that helps people kind of get through tough times? Wouldn't that be really cool? That was the turning point for me, to take that music had a different purpose. It wasn't just fun anymore, but it had a purpose.
That's really interesting because I think we think musicians, and I can play the bass, and like you said, I have a garage band and I got my friends together, and then we go to stage and glamour, and I could be that rock star, whatever that is, but that wasn't your motivator. It was to heal other people.
Yeah, and even
That's
now,
beautiful.
I try to be aware, even now, that when people come to a concert, you never know what burdens they're bringing inside the door.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who are going through divorce and through, difficulty with their kids and illnesses, serious illnesses, and we're there to serve them for whatever brief period of time. Maybe it's something meaningful. Maybe it's just a brief respite for 75 minutes.
Put the burden down.
Yeah, maybe it's that. But in whatever length of time and whatever depth it is meaningful to people. It's more than just entertainment or fun, but it's something. The other thing I realized about it, and actually an economist taught me this, because I said, well, what is the value of music? It's not necessarily tangible in the way that other things are in a society in terms of the exchange of money for things.
Right.
Not the same way. But what music does is, and the arts do, it creates an experience for a person that they can't create for themselves. So someone who comes to see my concert, they can vicariously experience
music,
the making of the music in watching me, and that's very, very valuable. So those are a couple of things that I think about the service of it, and also that there are people who would love to be able to create, and not everyone is going to necessarily create a work of music, but it's a high responsibility to do it the best I can for those folks who don't necessarily have that particular skill or gift.
I got to tell you, Gerald, you just threw me a curveball, because you did. No, I know you did, but just listening to that story, because in my mind, the audience, I'm an audience member. I don't compose. I don't have that gift, but I'm watching it, so I'm consuming it from you, and I'm thinking that you, the musician, is evolving along the way, so that maybe your intention for creating music and your motivation is very different as a teenager, and then in your 20s and your 30s and your 40s. And I would have anticipated that your motivation is exactly as you said, in your 40s, in your 50s, but not as a young man. So that wisdom started early with you. Is it fair to say it doesn't sound like your motivation has necessarily profoundly changed in terms of your craft?
It hasn't changed, but I think like anything else, you have to constantly pull yourself back.
From what?
Well, we're in a business, right? So the business has needs. We're in an industry that it's always hungry for the next thing. It wants the new thing, it wants the next thing. It doesn't always want the best thing. So, our responsibility, or my responsibility, is to remember what brought me there in the first place and get back to that. And sometimes it takes more effort than other times, but that's my responsibility, remember that.
I can tell that you honor that responsibility in the different things that you've done, and I think many have participated in some of those things here at the Boscov's Berks Jazz Fest. Education is important to you, and providing a space where others can grow. So I understand you do something like that at is it the South Jazz Parlor? Am I saying it wrong?
You're pretty darn close. That's good.
What is it?
It's called South Jazz Parlor.
Not South Side. South Jazz Parlor.
Most of the time now we just refer to it as South. It is a pretty brand new venue in Philadelphia, and the proprietors of the venue, they've had a number of jazz clubs and restaurants through the years. One was the legendary Zanzibar Blue.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
I remember Zanzibar. Yeah. So this is their latest venture, and my wife and I, Roxanne, my lovely wife, she and I produce this series that occurs every week. It's called the Unscripted Jazz Series, and it happens typically on Thursdays, and an occasional Thursday and Friday. And the point is that we've realized through the years that a lot of our peers, these musicians who make a living playing smooth jazz, that what they actually do is so much broader and richer, and that they love all kinds of music. So the Unscripted Jazz Series is designed to give folks, when they want to have the time to let their hair down and do something different, it gives them the chance to experiment and try things that their fans wouldn't necessarily be accustomed to seeing them do. So for example, we've had Marion Meadows there playing Miles Davis. We've had Chuck Loeb playing Wes Montgomery. We've had, let's see, recently we had Kim Waters playing tenor saxophone, playing John Coltrane.
So they're shaking up not only their style, but their instrumentation sometimes.
Yeah, and it's cool too, because if you have an audience that loves you and has followed you, but maybe they've heard you do the same thing many, many times, this gives you a chance to surprise them with something they might not know that you do.
You know what's cool about that? I mean, we have everybody in a box. We're all in boxes, aren't we? In our own individual boxes. So you are this kind of musician. But as a musician at home in the basement, you're doing all kinds of different things. And you've provided that space to just go ahead and let them do it in public and step outside the box for everybody, audience and artist.
Yeah, well, you know, I think just generally in a time, we're living in a time where the gatekeepers... right? They really can't find the locks and keys anymore.
Thank goodness.
You know, where people really can give themselves permission to try all sorts of things. You know, it's like, and I think we need to seize those opportunities. So I've been fortunate enough to create just one opportunity to let people try something different. And here's the cool thing. Sometimes as an artist, your success can corner you to where you become afraid to try new things.
Because it might not be successful.
Right, but we found that the audiences are just eager and excited and are trusting. And I think that's really
Where is it? Where's the South Jazz Parlor? And this is Thursday evenings?
Yeah, Thursday.
I got to go.
Yep, so the website where you can find all this information is southrestaurant.net.
Okay.
And it's located in downtown Philadelphia.
And it's every Thursday night, stepping outside the box, and I got to have a look-see at that. And I believe there's going to be kind of a mini South Jazz Parlor in the DoubleTree for Jazz Fest.
That's very exciting. So for the first time, we're using the DoubleTree to create this kind of nightclub experience. There are going to be 13 major concerts at the DoubleTree, and we're going to brand it as the South Jazz Parlor at Berks Jazz Fest. Got Dr. Lonnie Smith coming, got Pat Martino coming, and Rick Braun, who we mentioned, is doing something different. He's going to perform the music of Chet Baker.
Yeah.
So
it's a good show.
It's a great show.
Yeah. And are you stepping out of the box on stage at all this year, or you're just...
Well, you know, I'm always out of the box.
I know. Which one?
So one of the hats that I wear during the Jazz Fest is also hosting the jam sessions.
Which is the best out of the box
ever. It's fun because you never know what's going to happen. You're never quite sure who's going to show up. It's always a lot of fun, and those happen on both weekends during the festival. It happens at midnight, and man, it's just, you got to come.
I know.
You got to come out.
Don't go to bed. Go to the midnight jam. Go to the midnight jam.
It's fun. We have food there.
I'm going to sleep in until 1 o'clock one of those afternoons so that I can.
We have chocolate. Do you like chocolate?
Oh, dark chocolate?
Yes, we got it all. But you know, I like those sorts of things. I'm a pretty spontaneous person. So all these things that I'm doing now kind of work together in some strange way.
Thank you for doing them as part of Boscov's Berks Jazz Fest, and thank you for sharing the story here on the People Chronicles. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Gerald Veasley.